He literally taught Malayalis how to see a good film.
When you met Mr. Adoor Gopalakrishnan, you were very young and he had started Chitralekha, or was he kind of starting at that point? How was it? How did it start?
He started, he's much senior, he's 86, which is almost 20
Yes.
years elder to me. And I met him when in 76, where he was already uh, you know, a cultural figure because he got his first film got 4 national awards. And,
Wow.
despite being
Wow.
ignored in the
Okay.
state film awards, that's another thing. So in Trivandrum, Kerala, he was a celebrity already then. So for us, college
Wow.
students looking at him with adoring eyes, that's the way it started. But then
Right.
he was somebody who was not, just lost in his being a celebrity. He was always curious, who is this guys. So around him, or coming to the Chitralekha Film Society. Uh, Especially when he comes to Chitralekha Film Society in 76, when there is a very good film which is being screened, which he can't ignore. And he is in town. So he'll come with his wife and his
Wow.
little daughter, who is now IPS officer in Bombay, I think. That's Maharashtra State Cadre Officer. So we have
Wow.
seen that from those days. It's
Right.
like if Adoor's premiere Padmini car comes into Tagore Theatre where the film is shown, we are sure that's going to be a great film because he will if he's in town he will definitely be there. Then you will find G. Ravindan and others walking from there's a restaurant opposite that theatre called the
Yeah.
Good. They will all walk up. They will
Yeah.
have evening tea and walk up to see the film. So that's the way
Yeah.
that there's a culture of films and artists. Not only these filmmakers, the entire artist crowd were my friends who immigrated to Baroda,
Yeah.
later Baroda School of MS University, all the
Yeah.
writers in Toronto. All of them will be there if there is a great film. Like let's say Rashomon. I still remember Rashomon. All of them are there. One act. So that's a culture which, thanks to Adoor, Adoor started Chitralekha Film Society in 1965. So
Wow.
yeah, so he started that in Kerala. He began to curate films himself. There was
Wow.
16 theater as projector, which I don't know whether you have seen a 16 projector,
Yes.
which used to make sound, when it this thing, and you need a small hall. It's like our new kind of equipments, digital equipments, which is show. But now they are silent. It was not silent those days. So he
Hmm.
sometimes operating it. That's the way he literally taught Malayalis how to see a good film, just like
Wow.
reading a good novel or going to a good theater production.
Wow, wow, that is such a important point, Mr. Chen. What you just said, that he literally taught the entire, I would not say Malayalis, I would say that he taught the ecosystem how to see. So the formation of Chitralekha was actually something that enabled him to get his films connected to the audience and also create an ecosystem that made other filmmakers connect their films to that
Yes,
audience at that point.
yes, sure. It is almost like Calcutta Film Society or Satyajit Ray.
Yes.
Why did he do that with his friends? Because he
Yeah.
wanted to show the audience that look, films are different. You
Right.
can take Pader Panchali, Vibhuti Bhushan's novel and make it a film and be happy. And the entire cultural crowd of Calcutta goes to see that film for 2 weeks. I remember Boshastri. I met the owner of the present owner of Boshastri, who proudly saying that Padar Panchali was released in our theatre. So, so that kind of feeling was there. Plus, Adoor had, in our conversations, he had told me that FTI had a professor called Professor Satish Bahadur. So he was a he was the professor of film appreciation. He used to
Hmm.
say that, look, if you want to make different films, you need to educate or orient your audience into that kind of films.
Wow.
Without that, you will be a big failure because you can't reach the audience. You are making the films for the audience. So you need to
Right.
mold their tastes so that they will come and appreciate your films. That's what Adu did with this
Wow.
film society, Chitralekha Film Society, and of course he formed a Chitralekha Film Cooperative along with that to make films.
Right. Wow. What you just mentioned, Mr. Cherian, it is such an important point that Satyajit Ray and Mr. Gopalakrishnan, they created film societies so that they can orient the audience to their kind of cinema.
Yes.
And that takes so much of courage, so much of resources, so much of time, and which is such a different process because we did an episode with uh, some of the great film writers like David Sterrett and Jonathan Rosenbaum, where we spoke about Hitchcock, and Hitchcock would design his scripts to the audience's reaction, and this one was creating an entire ecosystem. What do you think about this contradiction, A? And B, what would it have taken out of them to create these kind of ecosystems?
See, before that, I must say that in 60s,
Yeah.
the film language as such was getting stabilized. The
Hmm.
visual language of the films. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you look at Europe, it was the great masters, Bergman, Antonioni, Fellini, all of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
Hollywood, it was people like Chaplin, all of them,
Yes.
from silent to sound, all of it was happening. And then
Yeah.
there was this Russian school of Eisenstein and Kudovkin and all of them.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so it was like film language between all this movement was getting stabilized, and and for the Indians who were lost on the Pasi theater kind of films earlier, so they needed an orientation. In fact, Film Institute and Indian International Film Festival started to orient Indians to that emerging film language and culture. And this is Mrs. Gandhi's pet project,
Wow.
which you can get wrong. Bhavnagari's daughter, she's still in um, Paris. He's a
Yeah.
French Indian, of course a Bombayite, and he was roped in. He was working in UNESCO. He was roped in to
Hmm.
advise or create both the things, both the international film festivals for the first time in Asia. So that happened in 52. So and then
Wow.
61 the film institute was formed. All those fit. That is the time Adoor was a product of the film institute. Satyajit Ray saw this from Calcutta. Calcutta was an international city then. Satyajit Ray
Yeah.
realized it. His London 2 month sojourn convinced him. So that's why he came back and made a film which is what we all say it's surreal, neorealistic film.
Yes.
Why? Because he was deeply influenced by bicycle thieves of Bisica, post-war Italy. So that's he got it from the viewing culture that he had to give it to his friends and the writers and the audience. That's how he started Calcutta Film Society.
Yeah.
And you talked about resources. Nobody had any resources like that to spare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody had any sponsor.
Yeah.
So Chitandas Gupta, Aparna Sen's father, who was the close friend of Satyajit Ray's, he
Yeah.
writes that most of the shows were in their uh, flat in a garage. And
Wow.
yeah, so they will get a 16 projector and project it there. And friends will have tea and discuss, and that's how the film society there started.
Yeah.
Adoor was that way lucky. By then, 60s, all these things changed, and Adoor's Chitralekha Film Society was inaugurated by Kerala governor. He
Wow.
had
Wow.
a proper theatre those days, which with who's who of Kerala and Trivandrum's cultural writers and other theatre people in attendance. So he was lucky that,
He
so
got lucky. He got
yeah,
lucky that
he
way.
got lucky. And because he was, one of the reason was that Kerala, there was a library movement. It was part of the Indian freedom movement and the Congress and movement in Kerala. There was a, teacher called P.N. Panikar who went from village to village and made sure there's a library there. So Adoor knew this. No, Adoor's village. Adoor is a place, and Adoor Gopalakrishnan's village, there was a library. He knew what library, how the library network was formed. So he took off from there. He knew that there was, the Gen Z of those days assembling in that area. They were reading books, reading newspapers, and discussing things. We wanted to
Yeah.
lure them into films, new kind of films. That's
Yeah.
why even today, Kerala, the statistics say there are over 100 film societies still in existence there.
Wow.
Because
Over
of this,
100 films. Yeah.
yeah, because of this,
So
this library network, he has placed it over the library network. So it was easy for him to create, because already there was a network of people, young people assembling at a point and discussing and of creative novels or short stories. Now he put films also in that.
okay, there was already a movement there. So the culture was being formed and he added films to it.
Yes.
And which is why we talk about all the episodes that I've done on Malayalam cinema, on Kerala. Everyone talks about the richness of culture that is there, which has been created over years by people like Adoor who keep adding the right kind of ingredients to the culture,
Yeah.
which is why we are looking up to Malayalam cinema now and saying, wow, they are able to make these kind of cinema and stories because the audience has been enriched over the years. But tell me, Mr. Cherian, at that point, what is the kind of challenges that Adoor, as a filmmaker, would have faced to tell his cinema? And do you see that those challenges continue outside Malayalam cinema?
Yeah, his challenge was simple. He was talking a different language when 65, he reached Trivandrum.
Yeah.
He was there already as a, national sample surveyor, and he was part of theatre groups of Trivandrum. So he knew the people. So he thought it will be easy to get a producer. All the producers, all of them said that, what? You have learned filmmaking? What is that? People spend 20 years in a film set to learn filmmaking, and you said 3 years you have learned filmmaking. We don't want to
Yeah.
meet you kind of thing. Go.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So he realized he waited for 7 years. Of course, his saving grace was film division. I told you about Ram Bhavnagri. He saw Adoor's diploma film, which you'll be surprised. The actors are Manikal, Subhash Ghai, Asrani. You must see
Wow.
that. Yeah, a great day, or there's another one. Yeah, the diploma film. And Bhavnagri saw it and he said, "Who is this fellow? This seems to be how his head in the right place." Enlist him in our, in the filmmakers list,
Yeah.
in film
Yeah.
division. So he began
Yeah.
to get occasional documentaries. So he could, 7 years from 65 to 72, he survived on the film, the short films of film division and some films from
Wow.
Tuesday. And then he realized that there's no point in begging with people to produce his film. So they formed
Yeah.
a cooperative. The
Okay.
cooperative movement was heavily supported by the Congress governments of those days. So if you put 100 rupees, the government will put 1,000 rupees to me. So
Wow.
what they did is they put 10,000 rupees friends all together, and they got 1 lakh. so, so
Wow.
so it has become a cooperative. You can show some assets and apply for a loan from Film Finance Corporation then. And Film Finance Corporation gave him 1.5 lakhs as a loan to make the film, and he says that it is 18% interest.
Oh my God.
So
Okay.
but they took it, and they made the film Swayamvaram.
He realized it was a long struggle, and he's the only one who can actually raise finances to make his film, get the cooperative society involved. And that's how he made Swamvaram, if I'm
Yeah,
not wrong,
yeah,
which recently completed 50 years.
yeah.
And I was also reading a docket that you wrote on Swamvaram. How is the film perceived today after 50 years?
That's the first film which had strictly the the film language of the times. 60s, the film language has evolved and stabilized. So
Yeah.
what makes a film? Is it its song, its visuals, its camera work, its sound, is editing? What is it? It is, Adoor
Yeah.
proved it is not all that. It is the complete thing, which is a creative work. Film as a creative work. That's what he put uh, Malayalis into. Because till then, there was only one film which was totally shot outside the studios in Malayalam, which is called Olam Thiram. And
Mm.
Adoor was the first one. For him,
Mm.
there's no need of a studio. Everything was outside, outdoors. Plus,
Mm.
he is the first one to use sound, natural sound. Earlier, you will find
Wow.
background music, dialogues, and maybe if somebody is, the car or bus is going, the sound of that, just that. But he used
Yeah.
background sound, like the waves, the train, the
Yeah.
sawmill. All of it came in.
Mm.
Things came alive in that film. And of course,
Mm.
he was trained filmmaker, so he was a trained visualizer. For the first time, people thought, you know, people began to see what is a visualization, what makes the difference to a film or a story when it is properly artistically visualized. So all these things,
Yeah.
Swayamaram taught Malayalis, but they didn't accept it the first
Yeah.
week. You know that. The great story is that
Mm.
they didn't accept.
Mm.
They said, "What is this? The film
Mm.
without the regular heroes, regular comedians, all of it." So they
Mm.
rejected it.
Yeah.
But then
Wow.
it is a good luck of Adoor that he got 4 national awards, and Malayalis
Yeah.
celebrated it. They went and saw for 3 weeks, and Adoor's friend and producer, then he was acting as the producer, managing director of Chitralekha Film Cooperative. He told me that we were the first to give back the loan to FFC, and they reduced the
Wow.
interest rate from 18% to 15%. He said, I went with a check when we went to receive the national award. I gave the check to the FFC chairman at Vigyan Bhavan, New Delhi. He told me very proudly. And this is the work of 7 years of Adoor changing the taste and then government of India endorsing it. That's where the people, yeah,
7 years.
yeah. So that's where
Yeah.
people thought, okay, fine, yeah, this here is something which we don't know, but government of India also says everybody's, the nation is celebrating, then we need to know what it is. So they went and saw it,
Yeah.
got the money
Yeah.
back, and yeah,
Wow. Wow. And so once it got the national award is when the film got recognized.
yes,
The audience tried to see the film. They were coaxed to see the film.
yes,
So I want to understand two things here. One thing is that what did Adoor understand about a filmmaker's relationship with the audience
yeah.
during this process? What could he have possibly, understood that this is a relationship is an important part for a filmmaker's journey with their audience. And the second is that, do you think that after coming out of FTI and after trying to make his kind of film that he wanted to make, how did he design or work towards his visual language over the last 50 years?
Yeah, that's a difficult and easy question because I saw him. I was in the set of his last film, Padayatra, in January for
Yeah,
weeks.
wow. Wow,
I could
yeah.
make out what makes him.
Right.
I'll come to that, but his understanding of the audience. The best
Yeah.
answer is his second film, which was released in 1976 or 77. I'm not getting the year correctly. That
Yeah.
film had no regular actors. It was a new actor who was also a member of the Chitralekha Film Cooperative, and that film, without any award, ran for 140 days in a theater in Kottayam. And that film was a huge box office success in Kerala. You know why? Because that film talked about an ordinary village guy evolving in his life. So
Yes.
that's a film which endeared him to Satyajit Ray, to mention what their relationship. We can come to it.
Yeah.
So what he did is that seeing Kodiyatam was easy for Malayalis because they have seen. By then there was Aravindan's Uttarayanam, M.T. Vasudevan, Nirmalyam, all got national award. So they were used to that kind of films. And then comes Kodiyatam, which talks about a village guy, who's just getting his, act together in life. So it was like people totally accepted. I keep joking with him that look, we changed. You not only changed the audience's taste, but you began to make money out of it. And he told me that film was made out of 1 lakh or something, and they collected with German TVs buying it. The total revenue was about 8.5 lakhs those days, which is as good as like you spend 10 crores and get 100 crores now. So that really happened. He made it happen. So my point is that his understanding of the audience was absolute, because that's the story of the second film. And even today, all his films are released in theaters, not just noon show, which Aravindan and others got, but he insisted on the 3 shows, afternoon, evening, and night, which is still happening, because the distributors saw it, the theater owners saw that Kodiyatam was a big success. Sayamvaram after the award was a success. So people realized that look, there is an audience for this kind of films, and he's insisting, okay, let's give him what he wants. So that's the way he changed. I was again in the college in 76 and I saw the film in a regular theater. It was not overflowing, but it was almost full.
Wow. Almost full. And this was all organic. There was no external push. There was no advertising. There was
of course advertising, because see, Chitralekha Film Cooperative realized that they couldn't release a film through regular distributors. So they formed their own distribution company. So there was an advertisement in the newspapers. All the regular things happened.
Yeah. Okay, so he formed a complete ecosystem which was making films, creating film societies, and also creating his own distribution network so that the film goes to the right audiences and they can also market it right so that the people can come and watch it. So everything was under the control of Chitralekha. He was controlling everything, and that is an important part of a filmmaker's journey.
So, since you mentioned distribution for Kodiyatam, the second film, no distributor was willing to, not even one theater was willing to show it. So there were 2 theaters which said, okay, fine, we will give them a chance. We didn't have a changeover feeling. So what happened is that in that particular weekend, word spread that people are laughing, laughing their mind, their mind out in those theaters. So he says by Monday, other theaters whom they approached earlier, they were calling back, yes, send us the film. We heard it's a good film, and that's a kind of thing which he created, magic. I will say that's one of the reason I use the word magic. It is a magical thing which happened. Nobody expected. Even Adoor laughs and says, "We thought
Wow.
it's all gone," but it's
Yeah.
happened, because he was determined. He keeps
He
joking about
was
it.
determined.
Yes, he says that the
He was
only thing,
determined. Yeah.
yeah, determined and confident, and he says
Confident.
that that's my only asset in life. He recently told us. So see that, in fact, people who create history is like that. They know
Yes.
that they're on the right thing. They keep going, and then the crowd joins them.
Yeah. Yeah. That is such a great point, Mr. Cherian. What you just mentioned. He was determined. He was confident. And what kind of team he had at that point? He was an independent filmmaker trying to change the culture, trying to make people watch his films, trying to shape an ecosystem. Did he have a large team to it, or he was the one doing all the groundwork and all the heavy lifting?
So there was this one. It was he was fortunate in that. He had a good friend from his college days called Bhaskar Nair,
Hmm.
Auteur Bhaskar Nair. He died 2-3 years back.
Okay.
They were part of the cooperative, and there are few writers,
Okay.
and there was few journalists, senior journalists,
Yeah.
and there was some cooperative, the cooperative movement fellows in the Chitralekha Film Cooperative.
Yeah.
So they all together, gave him but who was the film maker in the whole thing? Adoor. So they
Yeah.
all supported him, and after Kodiyatam, that's how even the government gave them, I think, 10 acres of land in the outskirts of Toronto, and they had a black and white studio there. And
Wow.
there are about till it went out of action, there were about 10 or 15 films were shot there. So
Wow.
he has created an ecosystem, or team around the whole thing. He was
Wow.
lucky that
Wow.
way.
He got lucky that way. And what would possibly be the relationship or the equation between other filmmakers at that time with Adoor, like Aravindan and Abraham? What kind of equation they had, and how did they kind of? I'm sure they kind of brought in the energy that pulled in a lot of things for the audience at that point in terms of the taste.
Yes, Aravindan actually was a very popular pocket cartoonist. Not pocket. He has a cartoon series commenting on the contemporary things in one of the largest respected journal called Mathrubhumi. So
Right.
so he was well known, and he
Okay.
got interested. Adoor tried to make one film with with a small producer, but it fell flat because
Right.
uh, that is the thing in 68 or 69, and Aravindan was his art director in that. So
Yeah.
I'm told that Aravindan was already working in rubber boat. He had a two-wheeler, and he used to drive Adoor around. So that was the personal relationship. And then, so because of this, you see, people knew that there are a lot of things, new things happening in films across the world. So
Yeah.
all those people, artists and cartoonists and others, they were curious about this film thing. And there was this guy who saw all of it in Pune Film Institute and came back and talking like an evangelist, or luring all of them to join the new bandwagon. So Aravindan
Yeah.
was that. I mean, Aravindan was assigned to make the new film, this first film. Uh, Aravindan depended on Chitralekha Film Society's equipment, the entire team of Chitralekha Film Society. So that is the kind of support they gave each other. Of course, in
Yeah.
John's case, he had also, again, in fact, his cameraman and his junior in FTI, last time when we were speaking, he said, I asked him casually, which is his best film according to you, or out of the 4 films? He
Yeah.
said, I will say that film which he talked to us a lot. If he had made, that should have been the best film. So that is John Abraham for you. He's a great
Yeah.
idea, ideator, great evangelist of good film, but he couldn't organize himself, physically and mentally and otherwise, economically, business, economically. Film knows a lot of money
Yes.
to make his best, but nobody can disregard his attempts. Even the Amma Aryan, which has been, Report to Mother, which is being restored by Shivender Singh Dungarpur. So, and then the library movement came. So people began to read. If Kerala become literate 100% long back, it is one of the reasons is this library movement. The youngsters went to the libraries and read newspapers, books, and some, and the books, again, from 40s onwards, there was a big literary movement pushed by the leftists. So that also made them popular. Communist Party is still there in Kerala, and also give a new vigor to the literary and creative spirit in Kerala. And that had an influence on the filmmaking. So this influence of the literature on Kerala films had a big influence. So that brought a family audience. Of course, there was this crass commercial things happening on the side. But with Adoor in 72, what he did is that he gave this kind of audience a taste of the global film language. That your film has to be not only seen or song has to be heard or something, but it has to be felt. It has to be you are going for an experience, not to see a story in Lloyd. The observation he does through the films, of people, of situation, very detailed, very deep. Yes, he understands people's psychology well enough to put it in his film.
And if you had to recommend 3 films to Gen Z, what would those be?
I'll say for the beginners, the second film, Kodiyatam, The Ascent, because it's easy to get into. Anybody can get into that. Any beginner or any age group.
Yeah.
But his best is, I will always say, Elipatayam, The Rat Trap. It's his third film, which,
Yeah.
I will keep saying that, no. This one, that one, all this thing. I said, look, I have the support of Thomas Alia, the great women filmmaker. But I asked him offhand in Delhi when he was visiting,
Yeah.
have you seen any good film in India? He, without any doubt, he looked at me and said, yes, I have seen a great film, Elipathian. So,
Wow.
so I said, Thomas Alia is in my side, so I don't deal with it. So
Yeah.
you made the film fine. And I think the
Yeah.
third and the fourth, I'll take this thing, Anantaram, the
Anantara.
which is
Monologues.
monologue, which is
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
my films. Friends say that that's the best because
That's the
the
best.
kind
Yes.
of narrative he do and the kind of analysis of
Yeah.
adolescent
Yeah.
need,
Yes.
adolescent process.
Yes.
I don't think
Yes.
anybody has attempted in India with that kind of
Yeah.
clarity.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then Vidhen, you see the Vidhen, it's it's totally stunning visually. It's totally fresh. Of course, the stories by another friend of mine, senior literary person, called Paul Zakaria. So these are the 4 films.
Yeah.
The rest of the films can be put around it kind of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I keep joking with him that. But then, how many people have done 4 excellent world-class films, I would say. Very
Yes.
few. Very few.
Yeah.
They should have done one
Yeah.
or two. Even on Satyajit, we keep debating which is his best film. He has made
Just the best film. Yeah.
30 films.
Totally.
Yeah. So
Totally.
that happens.
Totally.
Yeah.
That happens. Yes. Wow, what a great enlightening episode. Thank you so much, Mr. Cherian, for your time and for being here and all the great work that you are doing. And I have to catch that book on film societies, which I think is one of the most important books that we have right now.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend everyone to even read it because I think film societies are an integral part of cinema and film movement. And so thank you so much.
Thanks for your time and inviting me.